Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious. Today, we've got Jalaine Spears with us here. Jalaine, welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
A little nervous, but thanks for inviting me.
Well, you're welcome. I've invited you about 15 times, haven't I? And tell us where I've met you. And I know you're Jalaine. She's going to talk about the 30-year, not you didn't work all 30 years with the shuttle, but you were in the shuttle era there. And how many years did you work in the shuttle?
21 years.
21 of the 30-year legacy of the whole thing. How does that make you feel looking back on it 12 years later since the last launch?
Oh, it was an awesome time. It was incredible. We had such pride in working on the shuttle, and it was an amazing, amazing machine.
Pride in your craft. That's something that I think is kind of a rare commodity today. What do you think?
I do, yes.
Don't want to put you on the spot about anything. I'm the host. I can get in trouble in there. But truly, the Apollo and the shuttle era, the workers that I've met had this pride in their craft. And you got into the shuttle. We'll talk about that. But when you ended, you were in a prominent position. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about.
I was the lead for High Bays 1 and 2 on the Space Shuttle, and I had a crew that we processed both vehicles when they were in there. From the OPF, then it went on to the VAB to be mated with the tank and boosters, and then it went on out to the pad. But we also did some of that also, depending on the circumstances. You know, we had sometimes the guys were off on military reserves, and each little group didn't have enough folks, so they'd say, or we only had one orbiter or no orbiter, and they'd say, all right, you guys are going to go to the VAB and the pad and finish the job.
Well, we're going to talk all about that. As you know, here at the American Space Museum, we celebrate not only the birth of the American space age in its delivery room here in Brevard County, but we celebrate like none other the legacy of the Space Shuttle era that changed the way we look. No doubt about that. And before we get kicked off here with Jaleine's story here, we want to remind you that our Constellation of Giving campaign will be kicked off November 1st. Executive Director Karan, Conklin, and I have some really good ideas that we're going to present to you for your donations. We're going to create a constellation out of people's donations and then reveal what that dot to dot of the constellation is. $100 gets you a star, and we will have some $500 and $1,000 special levels with maybe a dinner with a VIP sort of thing. So we're a proud nonprofit, Jalaine, just like everybody else out there. We need to get our share of the philanthropic dollars out there. And here on the Space Coast, you'd be surprised it's not as easy as you would think in there. So we wanted to say thank you to Mr. Jay Honeycutt for an excellent program until our computer crashed. And here is Selvin Trotter fixing our computer. We had a few issues trying to get back up as my co-producer and buddy Marty Winkle's here talking with Jessica Galloway. That's why we were a little untimely today. But that doesn't matter. You can watch us anytime, Jalaine, on YouTube, the American Space Museum channel. So you're going to tell your family, go to the American Space Museum YouTube channel, and you will see all kind. We have over 400 episodes of our 900 some episodes up
Great.
there. And we're proud that we have a lot of space workers like yourself on there. So there's Selvin digging into there, and really we had to fine tune it this morning. Now nobody knows about this except you stay curious watchers right now. Yes, we are going to have an autograph hour with Jack Lausma and Rusty Schweikert on November 16th. That is a Thursday at 11 a.m. And then they're going to go out to the Kennedy Space Center and premiere the film Searching for Skylab, America's Forgotten Triumph, is what this documentary is. The documentary makers are from Europe, and they're putting this together for us. And this is the first time anyone in the public knows this is going on. 11 o'clock, autograph hour, Thursday, November 16th, here at the American Space Museum. We're feeding Jack Lausma, Rusty Schweikert, and their entourage a little lunch, and then they're driving to Kennedy Visitors Complex to have the premiere, not the premiere, but a showing on IMAX of this wonderful movie, a documentary, Searching for Skylab. All, of course, the Skylab astronauts are in there. And our good friend Emily Carney's in there, who founded Space Hipsters and is up to some ungodly number of 40,000 people following Space Hipsters on Facebook. And Emily's quoted in this, a good friend of ours. So would you like to attend that?
Sure. Sounds
Good.
like fun.
Well, it does sound like fun. And I know that Jack Lawson was a lot of fun. I've been around him. I've not been around Rusty Schweikert, but Marty, let's see if your UCAC family microphone works. You've been around Rusty a few times. How is he?
Oh, he's really good. He's just like all the astronauts. You can't say anything bad about them.
At least in public.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had a few already, Marty. But yes, but so we are thrilled about this. Karen Conklin is thrilled about this. And thank you, Anita Truex, our manager here of our merchandise. She does so much more with being an office manager here. Anita was in contact with the documentary makers. They were here at the museum, wanted to know if we'd sell their Skylab documentary. It's it's not available, outside the U.S. Except the ones they bring in here, the copies. So thank you, Anita Truex, for liaisoning this wonderful event that we're going to be promoting. And there you are, Jalaine, and Quality Assurance. I got that right. Do I have quality control of America's shuttle orbiters?
Quality assurance.
You're going to tell us the difference between quality assurance and control here in just a minute. So found a little meme there. Why don't you do that? But first, before you get into the world of your business there, tell us where you grew up. What was your family like? How did you get into this space business?
I grew up in Akron, Ohio. My dad needed work after he got out of the service. He was a bombardier on B-29s.
Bombardier, wow.
World War II, Army Air Corps. So my uncle called him and said, "Hey, Ev," they were brothers. He said, "You can get a job here." So they moved to Akron, and I grew up there. Had a really nice, my family was awesome. My parents were very loving and supportive and said I could do whatever I wanted to do, except when I told my dad I was going to go work on the space shuttle. It was after Challenger had, didn't make it. And he said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And the day I hired in, here, they let 2,000 USA employees go. I was on return to flight. And so they hired us kind of like in waves, if you want to put it that way. I started, there were about 10 of us that they hired from all over the United States. And they hired, I was like one of the first women because they didn't have any women in the program. And so I started in a 2-year training program, which was great because with the downtime, I had a chance to learn the systems and do a lot of training. And then they hired, I guess I did okay because they hired more women in the program after I came in. They waited to see how I would do. And they had people at the pad, they had people in the VAB. So it was just an awesome and wonderful program. Nobody had ever done tile, so we had to have training on tile too.
No one had ever done a lot of things about a reusable spaceship as huge as the shuttle is. I can't get enough of seeing Atlantis up there suspended and our beautiful display of it out there. You were a woman, Jalaine, who definitely helped break the glass ceiling, if you will, for women employees out there. Would you tell us a little bit about, what it was like, and was it really that tough, or was it what took this cultural change that we enjoy today?
I think because the tragedy, we all came together. There were folks from all parts of the U.S., and they all wanted to be a part of history and make something special fly again. And I can tell you, everybody held their breath on return to flight, until the boosters dropped. But it was a little bit tough at first. I think if I hadn't been able to, you had to take tests in all the classes and stuff. And I always have been a good student, so I was able to pass with, good numbers. And but it was just so exciting that it's like everybody wanted to help everybody else. I thought I might have a little bit of issue being a woman, but that's not the case.
Well, good.
So,
Good. They looked at your credentials and how you scored in these not aptitude tests, but you were constantly tested for certifications and things like that. That's what I'm getting at there. Yeah, getting back to STS 26, when we returned to flight in 1988 there. You said you cried, held my breath until the boosters dropped.
Yep.
What a sight.
yes,
Well, you weren't the only one
I
crying.
wasn't the only one. No, let me tell you what, the guys, all of the new folks, there were like 30 of us, new people, that had worked to get it to ready to fly. And it's like, oh my goodness, it was like such an exciting time. Every launch was that way because it just was so incredible to see it fly, and all the payloads were different. The configuration was always different. Rarely were the flights ever the same, so it was exciting work. And we continued to train and learn about different systems. There was Hubble in there. We had LDEF. We had
Long duration exposure facility.
yes,
LDEF.
we had the
Got to interject these acronyms in there.
yeah. We tend to talk in acronyms big time. I'll talk to some friends and I'll talk about the OPF or the VAB or the FRCS on the shuttle, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, I didn't know my OPF from my FLTB, okay, but now I know Orbital Processing Facility and Flight Crew Training Building.
Yeah.
Two wonderful things there, and we're gonna take Jalaine is gonna take us through the OPFs. I got some pictures that I racked up to kind of bring back some memories, like this one here of we're underneath the tiles. Excuse me. And I understand you could be walking in the OPF and not really feel like the shuttle. Where's the shuttle? Am I right?
That's what everybody, they always tell a visitor, because for one, they always would come dressed up in nice, suit and tie or whatever. And then they'd say, you're looking around, where's the shuttle? It's like, well, look up. You see all those numbers? Those are tiles.
Wow.
Columbia had the most. She had 33,000 tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, they got to where they added more blankets to the others. And
Yes, that was a shocking thing to many people to see Atlantis and the other orbiters, Discovery and Endeavour. I looked at it for the first time, and it's the closest I've been to a shuttle, and I'm going, it's covered in quilt blankets. What's that all? I didn't realize. I thought it was all tile. And then, of course, I've learned, and we've got, friends like Gene Wright that worked on it and so forth. So we learned about the So Sisters and how important that is. And here on Stay Curious, and very interesting legacy. I'm going to have you, before you take us on a little tour through the OPF here, bring back some memories. She brought her memory album with her. Of course, you got a lot of pictures out there, I'm sure. And we're going to show a few. Let me show a few right now to prime the pump there. And then I'm going to have you explain the difference between quality control and quality assurance that you were. She brought some pictures. I didn't have time to get racked up there, but there's a nice one of you.
that's on the way to the pad on the MLP.
All right.
I can tell you one thing about the MLP.
The mobile launch platform.
It's very tall. One of the training things that we had to do was in our very first go around of learning things, they put us inside and said, okay, now you got to find your way out. And be careful when you open the door because it's a 2-story drop, So fortunately, I was with somebody who wasn't directionally challenged like I am, because it was like lots of turns and it was tough to get out of the MLP.
Was it really? We done a story. We promoted a movie at Shuttle Fest 2. I think you were there at Shuttle Fest 1 and 2. The mobile launch platform story based to space. There with our good friend whose name escapes me, Marty. You'll bring it up there in a minute. There's another great picture of you in the with the bunny suit on. Polaroids. All right, a real Polaroid there that Jalaine has. They're always good looking at those. And there's another special picture of you, beautiful redhead, there in the commander's seat. What
Yes.
orbiter was that? Do you remember?
No, I think, does it say on there?
Columbia, it says
I have a lot
Columbia.
of stuff
Well,
from
that's-
Columbia, but
That's
all of
certainly-
the orbiters rolled through the OPF. Once they landed and came in, then they had to take out the payloads and be cleaned and start all over again.
What's that picture, Jalaine?
That is in Dryden, California, where the orbiter is getting the tail cone. You can see there on the back end. They're
Uh-huh.
putting the tail cone on, which is very tall. It's at least 7 feet tall. You can stand up in it. They attach it. It goes to the very top of the red device, and then the orbiter pulls through, and they made it to the the plane, so they can fly it back to Florida.
I was on the beach the other day in the evening, and I saw a plane go by, and I'm going, I'd have given anything to see the orbiter on top of the 747
It was awesome.
shuttle SCA shuttlecraft aircraft there. I'm sure you saw it many times. It had to have been something.
It was
huh?
quite a process too to see all that and help be a part of that.
And you were part of it as a quality control person.
No, I was quality
I mean,
assurance.
assurance. All right, there.
Quality assurance.
Just slap me around there. I'll get it right there. There was a special day. I'll hide my face there, Marty. I'm doing good, aren't I?
That's a young Prince Charles, who is now King Charles.
King Charles right there.
And
It's about 1988, somewhere around there. I think that's Mike McCulley. Had already flown in space. He's in space right now in STS-34. Mike is in space history on there. And we'll show one more here, and then we'll go through the OPF. A couple more here. I like seeing. I like this one because it's getting to be the holidays.
Okay, this is me in the aft. After it comes back, once it gets to get cleaned and all that, you don't have to wear an aft. I mean, you don't have to wear a bunny suit in the aft. So
The engine.
The engines,
the
yeah.
rear end.
the rear
You
end,
don't know
the
it yet.
rear end has 3 compartments. It has a top, a mid body, and a bottom deck. And you had to crawl underneath all of the tubing. It was very interesting.
OV-102, August 88, Columbia. Tell us a little bit about these OV numbers.
It's orbiter vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 102, 103, 104, and 105.
Those were like tail numbers?
Yes, like on a
every-
plane.
And 099 was
Enterprise, right?
Challenger.
No. Challenger. I don't think so.
Okay. 102's Columbia.
Challenger.
Pardon me?
Challenger.
It was Challenger.
Yeah, Challenger was
See, that
099.
I came in after
Oh,
Challenger.
yeah, but that's neat that you usually didn't call them by the names. That's why I bring that up. Is everybody knew 103 was Discovery,
Mm-hmm.
and is that how you talk to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Like you had 3 orbiter processing facilities there. You'd say, well, I'm going over to 103 and number 2 or something. Is that the kind of jargon you'd all use?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to
Yeah.
be hip like a
Hy-Vee 3
space
was a
worker.
little bit separated. 1 and 2, OPFs 1 and 2 were next to each other.
Yes.
But if you had to go to 103, you had to like cross the street, and it was maybe not right next door, but
Heard that was constructed that way. There's a great photo of you there, and then we got a comment. That's a pretty picture of you there, looking at the. What are you looking at there?
that's the Star Tracker on the left side of the vehicle.
And what's a star tracker?
The Star Tracker is like sort of like a sextant for a sailor. It plots the stars and it tells the orbiter where it's at in the sky.
Okay. Now, where's your clipboard? You're an assurance quality inspector there.
Well, I probably would have to go back down to the cage where we lived. We
Yeah.
had little cages in the OPF and write down what I had done.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Marty, you've got a comment or a question?
Here we got a comment from Doug Forrest. He said he was in the 747 in Houston this past weekend. They've done a good job making it into a educational exhibit.
You've been at this Johnson Space Center. That is Doug Forrest, who's an artist, and
No, I actually have not.
and they have they feel bad. They're mad that they don't have an orbiter. You know that, but they've got one of them, a dummy on top of a real shuttle carrier, 747, and you go in and look at it. That's good to know. I've been there about 6 years ago, Doug, And Johnson Space Center is very cool and very computerized. It's unique in its own way. And the Apollo 17 diorama and to see the 17 command module there is really killer. They got moon rocks this big.
Wow.
Yeah, so we digress. Another road trip there. You
Yes,
go on a road
definitely.
trip down there. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a quality assurance and quality control.
Okay, a quality control person, for lack of a better word, say he's looking at screws or hammers or widgets, if you will. That may be a bad description. And he has the drawing and he's looking for dimensional things and he'll check them. But a quality assurance person looks at the entire system. We would go into the tear station to look at the documentation to see if if they were following the correct procedures on how to maintain the documents. We looked at everything, not just the end product.
So the quality control is more involved with the pieces and parts that
Yes,
they're made to
yes.
specs or that they look
Yes.
like things were put together properly, that sort of thing.
But on the shuttle, if we put pieces on, then there was also testing, and we had to verify that the testing met the requirements.
So you're telling me that as a quality assurance, is it technician? Is that the proper word?
A specialist, quality
Specialist.
assurance specialist.
Did you specialize in the aft of the orbiter or the payload or something, or did you have to know the whole vehicle?
We had to know the entire vehicle from nose to tail.
And from launch to landing?
Yes, including the wings, the tires, I had some pictures of when they opened the doors and the landing gear came out. There was so much to learn that it kept us busy all the time, learning and just making sure that everything was proper.
Well, you learned real well because of some period of time here after, in your 20-some years there, you became, is it true that you're the first woman lead quality assurance inspector? Or
For shuttle, there may have been some over in payloads, and they were over in the O&C, and so I'm not quite sure about the payloads.
No, that's
area.
something to brag about. I mean, you were you obviously did the work to be qualified, and who would have promoted you to that? Who would have been you report to?
Like my immediate supervisor, and then the division chief.
Okay.
It was a big process. You had to bid on it. They looked at your documentation of what you've done and how you were working that day, or for the shuttle program, and then I got selected and moved up. And
Give us a little look of that, Jalaine, but behind the scenes of, you said you bid on the job. A lot of us in the working world, we apply for a job. They go, it's this much. You got to take it or leave it. I've never negotiated a contract or anything like that, or had to bid on a job. But this is the government, right?
Yes.
The G4,
Yes.
the G5, the G. You got up to G11.
12. I was at 12.
G12, and that is how big your check is and responsibilities. Correct when you do
Yes,
that.
yes.
So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, they send out the job announcement, tell you what they're looking for, and then you apply for it, and then you get a rating of points. Like if you have 20 points and I have 30 points, I'm going to have a little bit of an edge on you. And then they have a panel of at least 3 people. The person that's going to be in the area, and then 2 other people from different areas, and they have questions that they ask you, like, what are you going to bring to this program, or what are you going to do for us? Or one that I always disliked was, what is your worst fault? Because it's like, oh man,
Oh, really?
nobody likes to talk about that, but
What'd you tell them?
that my attention to detail might be a bit of a flaw, because sometimes they said I was a little bit of a nitpicker, but it's like, if the document says to do this and you're doing you're trying to tweak it a little bit. It's like, that's not right. And then I put the big hex on it, which means they couldn't proceed any further until they corrected it to do it like the paperwork said. So anyway, back.
Well, that's a good kind of character defect in a way. Now you say you put the hex on it. Let's talk about, you actually had stamps.
We had stamps.
That you put on.
Yes.
The stamps I've learned were a big deal.
Yes.
For in NASA. There's another word for it, or to be documented and stamped. Is there a word for that process? I'm trying to think of something that.
Well, there were a lot of steps on all of the jobs. They were very, very precise. You had to torque something to, say, 20 to 30 foot-pounds. And
Stamp for that in this column, right?
Yes, yes. The technician had to stamp it. The USA Quality had to stamp it. And the NASA Quality had to stamp it also.
Oh.
And if it wasn't all completed, then you couldn't go to the next step.
Now, when does the tractor trailer back up to the OPF to get all this paperwork out of there and
That's
filed away?
pretty much true. There is a big trailer and a big...
Oh, really?
The tear station, though, it's a room full of documents.
Huh. Well, I'm fascinated with that. Marty, we have any other questions out there? We're gonna look around here. I'm gonna have Jalaine take us into the OPF here with some pictures. We don't want Mikey there. We go forward there. Going to take you to the outside and to the inside. We have some 360 panoramas there.
Awesome.
That, I think we can look at. I'll put that there so you're not. That's good. You'll see them when they come up there. But tell us what's happening here.
It's being towed into the OPF. So they have to go kind of slow. We don't want a drag race.
Right. Everything is slower than people envision in space. You think those little rovers on Mars are moving around like a golf cart or something. Forget it. They're moving about 2 feet every 30 minutes type of thing on there. But what do we have in the background there?
That's the VAB.
The VAB and the OPFs are 3 buildings that are still there.
Mm-hmm.
I take the tour out to the Saturn V Center quite regularly. It's kind of like spiritual to me to go out there. I love it. And you see them. They're being used for different things now. Do you remember what they're being used for now?
Boeing is...
Boeing Starliner's in one.
And I don't know what's in the other one.
The top secret X-37B space plane.
Okay.
That's the mini shuttle that could fit in there.
Okay.
And the other one I think is shared by Boeing and NASA or something like that.
Yeah, High Bay 3
yeah,
is
someone's
separate,
gonna correct me.
so I don't know.
1 and 2 are right beside each other. Is there actually a tunnel between them or a walkway? Or
It's a walkway.
they never built a tunnel between
No,
them.
it's like a breezeway.
Yeah, nothing's underground here in Florida,
No,
Mark.
it's a
What am I thinking
breezeway.
about? Yeah.
That white part
Yeah.
was actually the brake area where the vending machines are. That low area.
Oh, the white area. Here's the.
Where the windows are.
Oh, that's the commissary or cafeteria or
Yeah.
whatever there. Okay. And I'll bet that was a smoking area out back there for
Yeah,
the
it
smoke
was.
cigarettes there. You can tell the OPFs when you're out at the Space Center because they have a place for the
The tail.
stabilizer
Yeah.
up there. And I know you have a good friend in Mr. Terry White who
Mm-hmm.
does a program with us once a month, the Shuttle Garage as we call it. And Terry's explained to us that this is the hoses have to be on this to take care of the shuttle, all the toxic fumes and things on it there as it comes back. Love these pictures to give people a dimensional size of this thing. It's huge. There's another look at the tail of an OPF there. So these are 360-degree pictures that I found online there. OPF2 there on the left. Tell us what are we looking at? You walked in this area before.
That's the operations desk where if you need to call somebody or find out where something's going on, that person can tell you. Like if you're looking for Joe Jones, he's got
For
his...
Terry White. We're looking for Terry.
Yeah, Terry
Where's he at?
White. And they'll say, okay, well, Terry he's here, or he's in the forward, or he's in the mid body, or he's in the aft shops.
Mm-hmm. And those are the doors you go through. Explain that Marquette just doesn't show up and say, "Hey, I'd like to look around here a little bit,"
Oh, no.
or even as a worker, I'm an electrical engineer, let's say. They're not going to let me all over the place, are they?
No, no, we had badges that had numbers on them for specific areas. Like you would have to have the number for OPF 1 and 2. If you didn't have the number, you're not going to get in. But you also had a badge board outside of 1 and 2 that you had to put it in. So if anything, if there was ever any toxic gas that escaped, they grab the badge board, they tell everybody get out, and then they can check and see you had to go get your badge to retrieve it. And if you didn't, then they'd say, oh, somebody's still in the bay. We have to get some help for them.
The badge system was in place
Yes.
in the Apollo era, and the badges of the Apollo fire people are still on their slot there at the.
That was actually in the crew module, and we had I think it was monomethylhydrazine. There was a leak, and I was in a bunny suit. And when you're in the forward, you don't have your shoes on. You have to take them off. You can wear your shoes in the mid body and the aft, but in the forward, we didn't have shoes on. And so your shoes are outside, and they're like, get out, get out. You don't have time to get your shoes. Run, So we're running to get out away from the toxic fumes. And then we went to get our badges. And then after they got everything all cleared back up, then we could go back in.
Hopefully those anomalies weren't very frequent.
No, they weren't, but it was an exciting day that day, I can tell you. It was like, wow.
I guess your safety training paid off.
Oh, yes, we had lots of safety training.
Jalaine, that's one thing that strikes me being around space workers now in my life for 6 years is the safety consciousness of you people. It is really ingrained in your home life and everything else. Tell us a little about that. I understand that every meeting opens up with a safety tip.
Yes, it does.
Is that true?
Yes, there was always safety tips. And
like what? What would you open up, stay curious with a safety tip today?
Always be aware of your surroundings and where you're going. Don't be on your phone. Don't have your keys in your hand. Don't be looking around, because you don't ever know when something might happen. You might trip over the sidewalk and break a leg or something like that.
I like that. That's very good safety. Be aware of your surroundings. Exactly. But we see a lot of people looking down at those phones. I'm telling you, I just, growing up as a baby boomer, it's just amazing the distraction people have to what's going on around them. Marty, you got a comment or question?
I got a question from Gary Jarrell. Did you have any interaction with Terry White?
Of course. Terry was in every day, and sometimes I'd have to say, hey, we're not happy with the way this job is going, or this technician that's doing this job. If the technicians all had cards too, and they would have certs for their, like the paperwork would call, he would have to have a certain torque wrench, a certain skill set. He would have to know how to work on, say, the engines or the Star Trekker, or if he didn't have that knowledge, he cannot perform the job. And a quality control person wouldn't know that. They might say, well, he's doing the job, he's doing fine, but he had to be certified, or he was not going to do the job. And that was one of the things that we had to check.
The paperwork of the technician or worker there, that he's certified to do that job. The quality control says the job was done well. You're saying he didn't have the training to do that job.
Right. So how would he know how to do it properly? It may
just
have
lucked
looked
out.
He just got lucky. So we always check the certs on the technicians and
Interesting.
and the quality also. The USA quality also had to have that cert.
Uh-huh.
If he was doing say pyros and he didn't have the cert, well, he can't do the job.
Now you said USA quality. You worked for NASA.
Yes.
And the shuttle era had three different contractors during its history that were over them. Lockheed, and then as originally Rockwell, then Lockheed, then USA. The United Space Alliance is what everybody knows at the end of the program.
Right.
That for about 12 years was the agency that handled all of the contractors going to NASA to put the bird together, right?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
when you say, did you have a counterpart at USA, the United Space Alliance,
Yes.
that you had to how did that work out? How was that structured, I could say?
Well, as I said, we lived kind of like in cages. We had desks and
Cages.
and chairs that we had our cage where we hung out in the bay,
Uh-huh.
and USA had their little cage.
See if that looks like that. Does this remind you anything that looks like that? I guess not. That's inside the OPF somewhere in our 360 thing.
It's some of the structure.
But you were explaining that yes, you have a good.
So we had a call board, and a USA Quality would come in and put the job on the board. Like if it was a forward, they were always forward, mid, or aft was the way they were
Okay.
annotated.
The cabin, the payload, or the engine area.
And whoever is not busy would say, okay, I'll take that, and they'll sign up for the job or stamp the document, and off they go. And then they look at all the paperwork to verify that everybody has the certs and the tools, and then you start the job.
Very, very interesting. Here's another. That's our picture we have here of looking underneath the orbiter there. You see people on the left. This is a 360 panorama. All right, kind of goofy to look at, but I get that feel of being confined all the time in the building. Is that how you felt?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right.
It was fun working in the wings. I might say that to you.
Oh, really? Inside
Yes.
the wings?
Inside the wings.
Wow. How
You-
tall were those wings at the top?
Well, we had to crawl through,
Uh-huh.
and they had stringers, and you had to make sure you got your knees up over the stringers, or you knock your knees, and that would hurt. And I could only get out to a certain length, and then it'd be like, okay, I can't get out any further, and I'd usually have to back out very slowly,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd have to go get someone who was shorter than me to complete the job. We had
Because you're looking at what inside the wings and how's it lit up in there?
there's drop lights and stuff in there, but we inspected the wings,
What would you look for in the wings? What were you inspecting?
the wiring, and they would put in hardware rivets and pieces of other structural metal to make it, sound and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They had they had to put the green corpon on it and make sure that was done. It was fun getting in the mid body, crawling underneath the tanks. They had the platforms in there, and you had to get in with they had boron tubing, which was couldn't step on it because you're going to crush it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of big shoulders, and the tanks are huge, and you can't step on anything. So you had to be kind of limber, and you had to. It was sometimes a little bit of a challenge.
Huh.
So
Well, you wore, everybody kind of just wore a lot of jeans. Everybody wore a lot of jeans and just T-shirts because it sounds like you're going to get dirty.
you could. or
Also,
you
what
could-
did it sound like in there?
Well, okay, in the mid body, there's actually in most places there's always an air hose, a big tunnel, big hose that's got air going into it for fresh air. So it's always
Uh-huh. Guys, you're down. I interrupted you there talking about clothing as I had that thought about what things sounded like. I'm kind of, that's my way of saying I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't a standard uniform. Was that ever talked about?
no, because it'd be kind of hard to you have to wear a bunny suit.
Uh-huh.
So if you're in a suit, that's not going to be very comfortable, and you're crawling around most of the time.
Yeah. I could
So-
see that, but so many of you had to wear jeans. Shorts weren't allowed, right?
No,
But
they
it gets
wanted-
pretty hot and humid, and wearing jeans in
They
that.
wanted your legs covered. You had to wear closed-toed shoes, no sandals at
Mhm.
all. Most of the women had to take their jewelry off, like their earrings, their watches, because for one, you don't want any piece of jewelry to get lost in the orbiter, because even a small earring in the wrong place could cause a big problem.
Wow. Well, I'm enjoying all this minutia of the of this career that Jalaine Spears has had as a quality control assurance person. I think I understand now that quality control
Assurance.
looks at the pieces and parts and that they're put together right, and she goes around and makes sure the paperwork that everybody did that job is right in there. So let me ask you this: it's not. This is where we're looking at the aft end here of our beautiful shuttle, where the engines are. This is a $1 billion investment by our tax-paying nation. So certainly you had security around here. Did you ever get a sense of spy versus spy going on?
You mean a bad spy trying
Yeah,
to...
I mean,
No.
these are national secrets in a way that we wouldn't want people to copy our shuttle, though the Russians
Russians
did, like
have,
just going,
yeah.
they went to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. and got all the plans
Right.
were there. But so security wasn't overboard, I guess I'm saying at times
No, but the security was very good, I can tell you, someone played a joke one day at the ops desk. It was when the ricin was going around in the mail and
there. Oh,
stuff,
Riceland was a
and somebody put some white, it was probably
powder in
baby
an
powder,
envelope. Yeah.
and it's like that person lost his job. It was
Ugh.
not, it was a joke, but it was in poor taste. So
Yeah, yeah, that's too bad. Yes, things get carried away. Well, Jalaine, we're going to look at more of your album here. I think we've talked enough about your kind of career thing. Is there something you wanted to point out to everybody about your job and that would be something we'd be interested in we haven't talked about?
just if you have interest in space, be sure you follow your dream and do what you want to do. I'm here finally because I am a docent at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center, and the last time I was there, I was outside, and the homeschooling kids came in, and someone asked me what I did, and I said, well, I used to work on the shuttle. This little girl was about maybe, I don't know, 7 to 10 years old. I'm not quite sure how old she
Uh-huh.
was. She said, oh, can you tell me about it? And I told her a little bit, and she says, oh, that sounds wonderful. Do you think I could do that? And it's like, of course you can. Just stick with it and stay in school. And, you really need to have some good science and math skills.
Uh-huh.
And so she said, thank you. And I work with the STEM kids in the education building sometimes. And one of the last things they did was they had them build an MLP, mobile launch platform,
Uh-huh.
for a vehicle of some type. And they had all different age groups from 5 to like 15. And the only thing is they gave them the choices of a golf ball, a tennis ball, a marble, for their vehicle, but they had to build it out of popsicle sticks. They had some string. They had pipe cleaners. And then we had to do a spin test on them to see if they would stay together. And then they also did the test with the fan. They would put the fan on it at higher speeds to see if it would stay together. None of the kids picked the same thing, and they all did a great job. So the schools seem to be doing pretty good in the science area. It was very interesting, though.
Well, good for
Really.
you. We that's out at the Astronaut Memorial Foundation, where they have the education center there at Kennedy Visitors Complex out there. Gary Gerald was he gave that good question. He's a Georgia farmer. He brought us some Vidalia onions
Oh,
when he visited
nice.
here.
Those are good.
You bet they're the biggest Vidalias I
Oh
ever
my
seen, Gary.
gosh.
And they're all gone now. I had the last of them with some delicious onion soup. Cynthia Rossi's watching. Doug Forrest, we said hi to him. Robert Law's up in Dundee, Scotland, enjoying his evening and this
Wow.
wonderful conversation with you, Jalaine. Dave Stangy's up in Michigan, and he has his infant granddaughter watches the show with him up there sometimes. Hey, Selvin Trotter, he's checking us out there that everything's working good. Cliff Watson, is a astronomy friend of mine in Pomona, Australia.
Oh, wow.
So good brekkie to you there, sir. He'll be here in April for the eclipse, Marty, and we'll have him on Stay Curious for sure. I think he's looking for a floor to sleep in. There, good old Cliff Watson down there in Pomona, Australia. Dave Renicky is his buddy that I met before. Dave's a big popularizer and DJ of astronomy down there. And yeah, I got everybody on. Oh, CB didn't say hi to Carlton Bailey. So he's our launch photographer that keeps us in the know. Let's look at a couple. Got a family picture here. Well, no, I wanted to mention that, yes, you have met a few astronauts. There's Terry White on the right, and that is, I think that'd be Mark Kelly there. That looks like the 133 crew going in there. Tell us a little bit about that. You never know, or do you know, when crews are going to come in to check out the orbiter they're going to fly to space?
No, not really, but it depends on where you are in the flow. Usually at the end of the flow, most of the astronauts would come in for CEIT, which is crew equipment interface testing, and they would come in and do all that they could in the crew module to see how everything is going to work out. And so we did see a lot of astronauts. They were in a lot of times. So I actually have met quite a few and talked to them a lot.
Yeah, we'll show a couple of pictures here that you brought. Like most space workers out there, they've got lithographs of the crew. This is STS-57, and it says, well, Jalaine, thank you for your support. And that is some the one. Let's see, over here we had. I'm looking on the back. I need to have my glasses. There we go. Yes, I was looking at David Lowe passed away there on the right hand side. Son of George Lowe, NASA leader. Nancy Sherlock there. Janice Voss, she's passed away. Peter Wissoff, and then the commander, Ronald Grabe, and Brian Duffy, the pilot there. Those are nice to have. Well, if you people want to collect these, a lot of people do. You kind of go $25 an astronaut and $100 extra if the whole thing's signed. So you got 2, 4. You got, this is an easy. These go for $200 all the time.
Really?
At auctions and so forth. Yeah.
I wouldn't sell them for anything.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but you want your family and friends to know what the value is, so that when that time comes that you got to say adios from this good old world, people know what it says. Nancy Sherlock, I've never seen her autograph. That's very pretty there. I'm going to show that to Marty. We get a lot of autographs. Here is there's a picture of you. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, they're in the OPF in our little area, and
Rick Hauk, commander of STS-26.
Yep. They all would come in and they would give us sometimes they would give a little talk. Sometimes while we're working, they'd walk around and say, how's the orbiter doing? What do you think? And just, regular people, really, really great folks. And we'd say, do you mind signing an autograph? And so if you didn't have something for them to sign, everybody would pull out $1 and they'd be happy to sign it. Well,
nowadays there'll be $5 bills because no one's got $1. They got
That's
got $5
true.
and tens.
That is true.
Yeah, it's very popular there. He's got Pinky Nelson, David Hilmer, Rick Hauk, Covey, and Mike Lounge. Were on that launch there. So Mike Lounge has passed away. That's very nice. We got you here. Workers are installing the remote manipulator arm in the payload bay of the newest orbiter, and you were in there. I'm going to point to where you showed me you were. Let's see, you were right.
Oh, I'm in blue, right there.
Right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep.
In the bunny suit there. Making sure everyone's got the proper paperwork there.
Well, paperwork, proper following the step is required. They couldn't jump around to the next step if the previous one wasn't completed properly. They couldn't they couldn't just do whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hand me a few of those. Did you know our good friend Art Edwards was a remote manipulator arm guy? You know Art?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just talked to Art the other day there. And,
Really?
yeah, he's writing a book about African Americans at NASA, and kind of a positive book in many ways. Well, there's two beautiful people there, Krista McAuliffe and Barbara Morgan, our teachers in space. Did you take that picture?
No.
Okay. What a nice.
But I was there that day and talked to both of them. Very, very nice. Krista was so excited.
Was she?
Yeah, Barbara was too.
Yeah, Barbara's, of course, she made it to space, and we've seen her out to Space Center in the astronaut encounter many times, and God bless Krista McAuliffe there. Anything that I post on Facebook about Krista McAuliffe usually goes viral. I mean, just thousands of people.
You know what? Those guys, they knew the risks, and they were happy to do the job. They knew I just feel like they died doing what they were happiest with.
Good. That's the way we want to feel, because we've heard astronauts talk about that, when they're going out in those pumpkin suits to the van, or before, to Challenger, it was just the blue flight suits there. That wasn't even a thought in their mind. It was, let's get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Walker has become a friend of Marty and mine in our museum, and Charlie went to space 3 times, and he said, I died 100 times in simulators.
Wow.
So I didn't think about it at all when I was going out there to strap in. There's a very unusual picture. Space Shuttle Columbia is on the left, slated for mission 35, and it rolled past Atlantis. It was rolled back for repairs to the liquid hydrogen lines there. So, were you out there that day to see that with your own eyes? These are the moments that I would cherish if I was a space worker. You don't see that very often.
No, you don't. You don't see that hardly ever. So
in the twilight of the evening.
I saw some really cool things out there.
How about the rollouts? I understand, you'd roll out the shuttle to the pad, and the workers could go get them a bucket of chicken and sit in their car outside the fence there. And did you do that?
No.
Not with the chicken, but I mean, could you do that?
It could have, but
Okay.
We got to watch the launch, usually depending on the time, from the back area, the back doors of the VAB. And you think it rattles your windows at home. You should be behind the VAB and watch. It's like, oh my gosh.
Really loud.
Really, really
Really
nice.
against you there.
Yeah.
Let's look at a couple other photographs here that you brought to share with us. Oh, wait. What happened to that?
There's the one of my son.
Yeah, I was looking at the one back here. Oh,
They
we
were
didn't get
looking-
those in there.
Those
Okay.
were looking at, they
Where,
were
did you
looking
have the
tile.
stills? Find those that you had there. If you had, we had a couple others in there that didn't
think
make
they're
the
over-
show
think it
today.
over
That's
there.
okay. Oh yes. Here's. Yeah, we didn't. This was interesting. They're not there, Marty. They got loaded up before. They got put on after we loaded up. I'm sorry. This is kind of hard to look at. This is avionics bay, and I had a picture that we have one of those avionics recorders in our workers gallery there. That's Endeavor 105.
And all the black boxes that are in there, and all the wiring, all the connector mates, all the safety wire has to be inspected while it's going in. And then you do, before they put the covers on the walls, you do a final closeout inspection. And if you see anything that's wrong, then it has to be documented and fixed before they can finish putting the white walls on.
That's in the lower bay.
Yes.
Yeah. Hundreds of lines there have to be checked.
Yes.
Is there really just one outlet, one plug outlet on the wall there? Of course not. All right, here's a beautiful picture.
That's me and Barbara Morgan and my supervisor and Art there on the right.
Art Willett?
Yeah, Art Willett was the pad lead.
What's the occasion? What's Barbara doing there with you?
Just checking things out. They would come through now and then and say, "Hey, how's it going? What do you think? Is she going to be on time? Is she going to be, they wanted to know what we were doing. And so,
How'd that make you feel that a lot of the astronauts took personal interest in your job?
it made us work all that much harder and want to do things right. There were no shortcuts.
Uh-huh. That's cool. Did you have a picture of your son over there? We didn't make it in the one I loaded up. Did you find that in the picture there? I wanted to show that.
No, I think it was in some of those ones you had there.
Did I not give it back to you? Anyway, you tell us about your son,
Well, my son
his name and what he's doing.
My son is Christopher, and
Hand that to me over
he
there.
was one of the hires in the runs that I was talking about, and he worked second shift and I worked first shift. So, there it is.
Yep.
Right there it is.
Sure, these like this.
He's still working out there.
There, we wanted to get the family in here a little bit. There,
I thought that was kind of unusual, mother and son working. Maybe it's not, but to work on a space shuttle.
Not really. No, it's not.
He was an Airedale in the Navy, so he had lots of aircraft experience. He was on the flight deck. He was one of the guys that was waving the planes off of an aircraft carrier, and that's with an astronaut. So
I always thought those guys got blown off into the ocean.
no,
You always see them just as windy as can be there.
no.
Here's a prideful picture that we love seeing.
That's my crew. We were out at the pad.
That's neat.
I wish I had one of the orbiter when it's in the VAB all the way at the top to be mated to the tank. To see the orbiter at the very top of the VAB and then come down and be mated with the tank and the boosters is an awesome sight. It's not an everyday sight.
No. And we, our building supervisor, if you will, is Dan McCune, who was a crane operator in the VAB.
I also met a lady that was a crane operator. And
I
did
got her
that.
name on my desk to get her on State
Yeah,
Curious. I
I've
forget it right now, but yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I have talked to her too.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting job, I think, here. And one last picture here.
Okay.
Who's that with you?
Oh, that's my mom. It was an open house one day, and we got to go on the Liberty Star that brought back the boosters, and that was a great day.
Well, that's always great to have your family out there seeing what you do.
Yeah, my dad they still lived in Ohio, and dad would find out there was a launch, and he'd say, "Okay, we're coming to visit." So, and launches don't always go, so sometimes it'd be like, "Oh, they're staying 3 more days," So it was a great time.
That's awesome.
They really enjoyed it. You do know there's a open house at Kennedy on November 4th.
I do not. I know that Brevard County residents get a good discount for the next week, but November 4th is an open house.
At KSC, but I think you have to have a badged person to take your family out.
Well, that'd be my good friend and co-producer Marty Winkle over there. He's got a badge.
Except I'm volunteering, I'll be inside the VAB.
All right. Are you planning to do that, Marty? Have you been told about that, to volunteer out there?
No, they
That's
have
what I'm saying. I'll be working in the VAB.
Okay. On November 4th. All right.
have lots of openings left, I think, for jobs because they have a big area to cover.
Absolutely. I was out there for one of those 5 or 6 years ago. A lot of fun. The only time I've been in the VAB and around there. And they have 1,000 people out there and have some barbecue and food. Is quite an event out there. So.
Yeah, it's amazing though, isn't it? It's hard to imagine how big it is.
Yes, it is. It
Until
is.
you get in there.
Yeah, to be around anything with the space program is you're overwhelmed by, if not the size, by the technical thing that you're looking at there. So, well, Jalaine, I have really enjoyed talking to you and learning about you and the difference between a quality assurance person that you were and a quality control person.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. Is there
Marty
something?
told me that I would have fun after doing this.
Well, I'm glad Marty tip the scales to bring you in here because we didn't talk about where I've met you before. You're a volunteer at another important place here on Merritt Island.
Yeah, I'm at the Veterans Memorial Center at Merritt Island behind the mall on Sykes Creek, where we help the veterans. They have the DAV officers that help them with their disabilities, to their paperwork for that. But we also have a great museum, just like you have a great museum here. It's awesome. But we have over 5,000 artifacts from the Civil War to the War on Terror. We have a periscope from a nuclear submarine. We have a water-cooled machine gun from World War One. We have 3,000 there. We have a piano that they dropped during World War II, which amazes me that they would drop them from a plane.
Yes.
For the troops to be entertained. There's a picture of Marlene.
I saw that and I read that, and this was thousands of them they dropped to be entertained the Marines, and it was one company did it and they packaged them up. Yeah, it is a fabulous military museum honoring, of course, our great country and the people who sacrificed and those that have led our country. It has so many mannequins, Jalaine, that you almost turn around and jump because you think somebody's chasing you around the place. It's really cool. Yeah. They've got every uniform you can think of from all branches of service there. Yes. And they got a great Marine display there, Marty. Hoorah! So it's really unique. Right behind the mall on Merritt Island, and they're building a 5,000 person amphitheater that's going to be festival style. And we've already that's where we saw our eclipse party there. So we're big partners with.
You're going to be back in April for the next eclipse?
Probably not. Most of us will be in the totality. We'll try to get something done, but I'm going to be with my 91-year-old mother in Ohio. I hope.
Awesome.
Because that's where it started for me in Findlay. I shared with you I grew up in Findlay. Akron will have totality on the next eclipse there. Okay. Probably be cloudy in April. We all know that. So, Jalaine, again, just such a pleasure to get to know you better. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're welcome. You had some great stories to tell and really enhanced a part of the shuttle program that we haven't heard about from one of the truly pioneering women that broke the glass ceiling with her smarts and education and achieved a level that now is open for everybody. So
yes,
appreciate
it is.
That. Thank you very much. Marty, thank you for a good job of solving our problem here with Jessica Galloway, our Trekkie Techie. I think we've got things back to normal again. So tomorrow we'll have a program looking a little bit of Future Friday, and we're going to recap the week. A lot of space history going on and future history that's happened in the past week that we want you to catch up on. So again, Marty, thank you for a great job. Jalaine, thank you for a wonderful program here that I'm sure everyone enjoyed. And for you out there, tell your friends to watch us on YouTube as we have monetized that channel. Tell them to like us on Facebook. We always put the program link over there. And it means a lot to our museum that you help us reach out to other space geeks out there. So until tomorrow, I'm Marquette saying thank you for watching today. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow to bridge the space between us.